Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? It's Matt here from YoVideogames. It's been about a day or so since Capcom had its big reveal at its big Mega Man 30th anniversary event, and I've been a little under the weather, so I didn't have anything right away, but I figured I'm feeling a little better now, a little more clear. I'd like to just, I guess, talk about, my thoughts and impressions on the whole Mega Man 11 announcement for you guys. So, the thing that really gets me, first and foremost, is, one, it's about fucking time, Capcom. But two, that they kind of should be a little ashamed of themselves for taking this long. Like, this is ridiculous that we went from, I think, 2010, from Mega Man 10 to now to getting one new Mega Man game. I'm not counting that fucking mobile game, and I'm not going to count any of the legacy collections because they're just collections. But in a world where we've had so many retro revivals, we've had so many classic styled games come out that have all done very well, all been popular. The fact that it took Capcom this fucking long to make one goddamn Mega Man game, to me is fucking ridiculous. And I'm not gonna, I don't feel like super forgiving of them because they finally made a Mega Man game. To me, it's just kind of, it strikes me as a little bit like this took way too fucking long. And the other thing that kind of gets me, a little riled up is that I know, because I've personally talked to people and developers of other studios who would have loved to have made a Mega Man game in this long gap of time where Capcom had no interest in doing it and just outright canceled everything that went along for it. So, I feel like, yeah, we should hold the test. Now, as for Mega Man 11, for what we saw, I wasn't really blown away by it. I'm not really a huge fan of 2.5D platformers, and when I say that, I mean games that are 2D side-scroller gameplay based, but completely use 3D models. So the reason I'm not usually a fan of this is that the movement and animation and just sort of like the control doesn't ever feel quite as tight as, say, like the pixel-based, sprite-based old school style games. And part of the reason for this is that if you were to, like, say, tap forward or I should say right or left in an old Mega Man game, he kind of barely wiggles his foot as he inches forward. And you do that in a 3D game, and there's all this animation of him, like, warming up. Just the simple act of Mega Man running is like, somewhere between, like, 3 to 5 different keyframes of animation on the old games. And then in the new one, it's a full fluid motion. But with that fluidity, sometimes, I'm not saying this is true for Mega Man 11, because I don't know, because no one's played it, but sometimes that fluidity has issues in that it makes things a bit slower on reaction, or we have to go through animations before he'll actually jump or whatever. So that's just a small concern. It's one I'm sure they're not going to let get to them because, obviously you got to get the jumping and shooting right for Mega Man. If you don't, like, why are you even bothering? As for the look of the game, it's okay as far as I'm concerned. It reminds me of Network Transmission, obviously a lot better for the GameCube, and it honestly looks kind of like a better or at least a better looking version of Mighty Number 9. I know that's probably not what people want to hear or whatever, but to me this looks kind of closer to what they said Mighty Number 9 was going to look like, but still doesn't even look as good as what they promised Mighty Number 9 would look like. So it's sort of just an improved version. I sure as hope it plays better, and I sure as hope the level design is a lot better. So that's actually the real thing. We're not really going to know how good this game really is until we actually get our hands on it and play through full levels and fight actual full bosses. Because right now we have real brief snippets of what the game actually looks like and how basically how some Robot Master functions go. It's all very preliminary. As far as though people might say, hey, it's coming late 2018, so it's obviously going to look a lot different when it comes out. I don't really believe that, because as any good publisher or any good company will tell you, the first impression is the most important. So this being the on their big 30th anniversary stream and event, this was obviously going to be pretty damn close to what the final game's going to look like. I don't expect it to look much more graphically polished ahead of time. So really, the only thing we really have to go on is that, hey, it's based obviously on the original Mega Man line, so it's not based on X. I am glad about that. I want to just say that I'm glad that they're just calling it Mega Man 11 and they're not doing a weird spin-off thing like Mega Man Chronicles, Mega Man, the Wily Wars 2, or actually, we wouldn't call it Wily Wars 2, but just some weird subtitle or spin-off. I'm glad it's not that. I'm glad it's just Mega Man 11. We don't have any info at all, really, about who's making the game. I think that's internal Capcom because they interviewed some internal Capcom employees on the stream, but part of me still, again, I got to go back to something I said earlier, and that's there were other developers that were dying to make a Mega Man game, and honestly, I think there are other developers who would be better at making a Mega Man game in today's day and age. And I don't really necessarily trust internal Capcom. Capcom has been very lethargic, to put it bluntly. They seem to sort of have like one or two really good games come out, but they're not really great at their current output. The PS4, Xbox One era games have not really lit the world on fire. RE7 was really good. I'll give it that. But, you know, looking at the disaster that was Street Fighter V's launch and how long it's taken that game to come to, you know, to where it is now, and all the shit behind Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I mean, it plays well, sure, and that's the most important part, but I mean, it doesn't look great. It's got a very tiny roster, especially in comparison to the last two Marvel vs. Capcom games upon their release, so I don't know. And we've seen not a lot coming from them, like Dead Rising 4. Yeah, everyone remember that game? Yeah, people love that one. Even Dead Rising 3, to an extent, wasn't really all that, you know, well received as well. So, I don't know. Capcom's output this generation's been kind of muted as far as I'm concerned. So, this is where I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily trust internal Capcom to be making, you know, the next Mega Man game. I'm sure it'll turn out at least fine. Like, at the most, you're going to get, you know, like a 7 out of 10 game, you know, where it's still good, even if it's not great. But when I look back at some of the other things that have come out and from other developers, and some of it even fan base, like look at Sonic Mania, for example. And, you know, that's in a very high contention for being the best Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made, and it's completely made by fans on an own fan-made engine. Now, granted, it does the whole sprite thing, and I have seen people say that they're happy that Mega Man 11's not just making a sprite-based game, because they kind of already did that with Mega Man 9 and 10, and I agree with that. But, I mean, the amount of love and devotion that was poured into Sonic Mania is kind of something that I don't necessarily see right off the bat with Mega Man 11. Mega Man 11 kind of just looks like, yeah, looks like the kind of Mega Man game they would have made for Xbox Live, you know, or the PSN store, you know, 10 years ago. So it's again, it's not really, I'm not really seeing the wow factor in it here, and what really bums me out is that I really do feel that Way Forward should have been the ones making this game. Considering their work on DuckTales Remastered and especially Shantae Half Genie Hero, like you look at that game and just you take a small little trailer for Half Genie Hero, and you look at the artwork on display there, and you think about that, and I'm like, you know, they really could have made Mega Man 11 sing. They could have really like kicked, you know, nailed the background art really hard, like made the animations really, really strong and fluid. And I really feel like it's a big missed opportunity that they didn't go to Way Forward for this, especially when they already had them work on DuckTales Remastered. You know, and again, it goes back to my point of like, what the fuck, Capcom? As far as like, they were able to get DuckTales Remastered, though it's done. Though it sounds like that was a heavy push on Capcom USA's part. I would imagine, just because it's an American cartoon show. But you had that, and then you had Strider, you know, which also came out the same year, and that was done by Double Helix. And why the fuck did it take Mega Man so long to get a game? And then, you know, we get it, and you're like, yeah, you know, it looks fine, but I mean, it doesn't look like a whole lot of money's going into the title either. It kind of feels like, okay, bare minimum is just doing another collection. And guess what? They fucking are, because of Mega Man X Collection. Or in some way or fashion, they're putting all the X games out on current gen systems this next year. But as far as like, you know, beyond that, so there's more effort than that going into it. But as far as like effort goes into a new Mega Man game, well, it kind of just feels like shit. Let's just, I guess, make a, you know, a classic Mega Man title, and maybe people will shut up about it. So, like looking back at what happened before too, because you had Legends 3 and Mega Man Universe coming, and then there were even rumors and stuff came out about like Armature Studios making a first-person game in the X universe and all this shit that got canceled. And it's like, after all of this and after all these years and all this waiting, you get Mega Man 11, which is nice, but this could have been a lot more. And I think, you know, if you had put it in the hands of Way Forward or even Yacht Club Games, like this could have been a whole lot, you know, flashier. This could have been, I think, a lot bigger of an event. Like to me right now, like all the event and hype surrounding this is the fact that yay, Mega Man's back. But for me, it's more just like, considering how Nintendo has treated, you know, Mario and Donkey Kong, and how Sonic fans helped like completely bring back Sonic the Hedgehog to his former glory. To me, this feels a little like, yay, it's cool, but it's also a bit muted. And to really hammer this point home, fucking Bubsy got a game announced and released before we even heard of Mega Man 11. In the time since Mega Man was dead, they fucking revived Bubsy the fucking Bobcat and released a game like that. And it's taken Capcom this long just to make a stock standard Mega Man game. So again, fuck you, Capcom, for doing this to the fan base. I'm not even really a Mega Man fan. If you've been following this channel, you saw the first time I ever played a Mega Man game, and it was not even that long ago. It was a few years ago. That was my first introduction to the Mega Man series proper, but beyond just a couple times renting it as a kid. So I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, I feel that like, for the people who have been waiting this long, it's like, shame on you, Capcom, for making people wait this long. And really, like, you could have, I truly do feel you could have done a little bit more. But again, it's early days. It's a whole year away before the game comes out. So we're obviously going to see and hear a lot more about it. We'll probably be playing it at next E3. But this is nice. It's a foot in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction. But this could have been a much grander return, I feel, than what we're getting. It's nice to know it's coming, but I am not one who's really willing and ready to just let, you know, Capcom Japan off the hook for this one, because this took way too fucking long. And that's all I got to say about this. I am looking forward to playing the game. I think it will be very interesting to see how it controls, because I think once I get my hands on it, that'll tell me whether or not this is actually going to be totally worth your time and money, or if it's just kind of a, you know, another like sort of 3D, 2D, 2.5D style game. But I'm fairly confident they'll get the controls right. But yeah, this is something that should have happened a long fucking time ago. But better late than never. It's Mega Man 11. It's better than nothing. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes.